Welcome back. So today, we're unpacking a truly fascinating explainer on a massive transformation in how we actually view the law. Specifically, we're zeroing in on a major legal milestone, PERMA Number 3 of 2026. You know, if you've ever felt like legal frameworks are just cold or totally detached from real human experience, you are going to absolutely love how we break this down today. We're looking at how a system evolves from something super rigid and mechanical into something deeply human-centered. So let's jump right in. I want you to genuinely take a second right now. Picture the legal system in your mind's eye. What does justice actually look like to you? For a lot of us, when we think about the law, we picture something incredibly intimidating, right? Okay, let's dive into this. Let's look at how this traditional view of justice is constructed, both in our minds and in society as a whole.
Section 1. Mechanical Justice. The status quo.
To really understand this mechanical system, we've got to look at its traditional visual language. We've all seen it, the imposing courtrooms, the authoritative judges. You have the heavy wooden gavels, those dense physical law books. And notice how these are so often paired with these sweeping shots of imposing urban skylines and, crucially, a color palette of cool gray and desaturated tones. Think about what that actually communicates to you. It's imposing, it's structured, but honestly, it is completely devoid of warmth. It represents a system where the rules are the rules, period. Human emotion, that gets left outside the courtroom doors. And that brings us to the core concept of rigid legality. It's this feeling of a completely detached system. When justice is purely mechanical, it relies entirely on the absolute letter of the law. Now, while that definitely ensures a certain type of order, it can also create a massive blind spot. The actual human center of a conflict just gets lost in all those cool grays and towering skylines. This initial state really highlights just how desperately a change was needed.
Section 2. Judicial Pardon. Catalyst for Change.
So here is the exact legal mechanism that completely flips the script on rigid legality. Putusan Pemaafan Hakim, or judicial pardon. Introduced by PERMA Number 3 of 2026, it is specifically intended to shift the entire system toward a compassionate, human-centered judiciary. It's a huge deal. It's an official, structural acknowledgement that justice requires way more than just reading from a heavy law book. It requires a deep, genuine understanding of the human condition. Now, what's really interesting about this is how perfectly these two worlds contrast. On one hand, we have rigid legality, those cool grays, those desaturated tones, that cold mechanical feeling. But on the other hand, we see the destination, humane justice. The shift is represented visually through warm, golden highlights and natural colors. It's literally like a sunrise in the legal system. It takes that exact same authoritative framework, but just bathes it in empathy, completely changing how the judiciary interacts with the very people it serves.
Section 3. Shift to Compassion. Visualizing Empathy.
Modern legal think tanks and institutional campaigns are using very specific visual tools to represent this shift, and honestly, it's brilliant. When you use macro close-ups, you are forcing the viewer to directly confront human emotion. It highlights the real personal impact of the law. Then you add smooth cinematic camera movements, like slow, sweeping motions, and that represents a seamless transition away from those rigid, jerky mechanics toward fluid mercy. And those warm golden highlights we talked about, they actively symbolize a compassionate, humane justice system. It's not just a legal shift, guys. It's an emotional evolution.
Section 4. Restorative Justice. Core Pillars.
Right. So these are the fundamental pillars replacing the old, purely mechanical application of the law. Justice, humanity, mercy, proportionality, restorative justice. And let me be clear, these aren't just buzzwords. They are the actual kinetic, moving parts of PERMA Number 3 of 2026. By focusing heavily on proportionality and restorative justice, the system isn't just punishing anymore. It's healing. It's looking at the entire holistic picture of a conflict and applying mercy where a rigid system would only slap on a penalty. This right here is what it actually means to center the human being in a legal proceeding. Let's move to and see how this builds step by step, taking us on a real emotional and visual journey. Step 1, we start off in that cold mechanical system, perfectly captured by those desaturated gray tones. Step 2, the crucial turning point. This is the introduction of PERMA Number 3 of 2026 and the judicial pardon, which just totally shakes up the status quo. And finally, Step 3, we arrive at those warm golden highlights. We arrive at a place of true restorative justice. This three-step journey is exactly how modern campaigns articulate the evolution of legal thought. It's moving us from a detached set of rules to an empathetic pursuit of true fairness.
Section 5. Law with the Pulse. Final Takeaway. Law with a pulse. I really want you to let that phrase sit with you for a second. So the crucial point here is that a legal framework does not have to be this dead mechanical thing. Through mechanisms like the judicial pardon introduced in 2026, the law can actually breathe. It can feel. It can recognize the nuance of human error and the absolute power of mercy. It literally transforms the judiciary from a cold, imposing skyline into a warm, deeply human institution. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on today. When you look at the legal frameworks governing your own community right now, do they feel mechanical and gray, or do they truly operate as a law with a pulse? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking questions, keep looking for the structure behind the ideas, and I will see you next time.